Welcome back to another live and amplified Indie Fusion podcast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we're back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. We have Michael Pritchett. How's it going today?
Going pretty good, Tom.
Glad to have you here.
Yeah, man. I'm glad to be here. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm glad we finally got it lined up.
Right. Oh, so you're in Nashville. How's everything in Nashville treating you?
Lately it's been great. I moved here in 2022 when I got out the Navy, and it's this city moves fast, and
Right.
I can't get enough of it.
Right. I finally went back to Nashville for the first time this year. I hadn't been since before the pandemic, and I barely recognized the place. And it was just like, wow. So
Yeah, I work downtown on Broadway, and I think 3 bars have been built since I've been working there. So
wow, that's
yeah.
insanity. So you said you were in the Navy. How long were you in the Navy?
I was in the Navy for 5 years and 2 months.
Okay.
I joined in April 2017, got out in June of 22. Uh, Stayed for about a month in Jacksonville so I could get situated, and then I moved here.
I got you. I forget there's a big Navy base around Jacksonville, isn't there?
Well, it's Camp Lejeune. It's a Marine Corps base, but they use Navy medicine. So
Gotcha.
I was stationed in the hospital at Camp Lejeune.
Okay. Is that what you did? You were like a medic, I guess? Is
Yeah,
that
I
what
was a corpsman.
okay.
That's like the Navy terminology for medic. And
Got
but my specialty was psych. So I worked in the inpatient psychiatric ward for 3 years, and then worked at the TBI clinic doing acupuncture, dry needling, stuff like that. And then I worked at New River, which is like 20 minutes south with the SOI students, doing psych evaluations for those guys.
Nice. And now, were you doing music before you got into the service, or?
Not at all. My brothers all played growing up, and I decided to pick up a guitar about a year in the barracks. My TV didn't work, and I had an old Jasmine guitar, so I picked it up and started fiddling with it. I've always liked to write, though, so that's kind of what it turned into.
Sure. So music kind of started off as something to kind of pass the time while you were in the service.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't have any roommates and not really many friends because once I did training for field med, all my friends left, and then I got stationed at the same base I was doing my training at.
Mm,
So I really had to pass the time, and playing guitar really helped me with working in a psych ward.
yeah,
It kind of gave me that outlet.
I can only imagine. During that time, or is that kind of where you started to hone your craft, is it, or like find your voice as a musician, or was that like once you got out, then you started figuring out like what you wanted to do with your music?
was I knew probably about it, at first it just I liked playing Luke Combs songs.
Mhm.
Um, I first heard one of Luke Combs songs, and then I was like, man, I can do that. Maybe not as quick as he could, but it was really just to pass the time, and just help me have that creative outlet to deal with the stuff I was dealing with on a daily basis.
Gotcha.
And once I got out, I really discovered a passion for it, and I was like, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. I want to write
Nice.
songs. I want to help people in a different way. And yeah, so hopefully I'm helping people. I think I'm helping people. Um,
Cool.
yeah, I love it. Love it
Yeah,
so
for
much.
sure. And then, so then after the service, it was just up into Nashville, or did you go back home to Virginia for a little bit?
I didn't go back home. About a year before I got out, I applied to Berkeley online. I got in there, started taking songwriting classes, stopped like the last 3 months before I got out because I wanted to get everything situated. Packed up and moved here right away.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was like, if I go home, I'm gonna get comfortable, see my family, my nephews, which I still go and see them all the time. But I was like, I'm not going to take that leap if I don't do it now.
Right. It's like got to move now, because if I go home, I'm just gonna end up staying there and not moving because you know that's just how things are.
Yeah, it's what I'm used to. It's slower in Virginia, man.
Yeah.
I know everything. I can drive down there with my eyes closed. And if I got there and I was fishing for a couple of years, I probably wouldn't be out here doing
Fair.
this.
Fair. And so then once you got to Nashville, that's kind of when you started releasing music and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, so the first song I ever released, I took a lot of music down because I've been finding out who I want to be as an artist.
Mhm.
Uh, some people got mad at me for doing it, but it's just the kind of what I want out right now.
Yeah.
The first song I recorded back home in Virginia in a building. It was like an 8x8 building with my brother's metal band drummer. He played
Mhm.
everything. That song was called Chains, but I didn't really start releasing and recording music until I figured out how it worked. And I just recording it's just the beginning. You
Mhm.
got promotion, you got release strategies. Now social media is insane, so you have to use that as well, and just hitting algorithms. And sometimes I just have to remember that I'm releasing music to release music, and not try to hit an algorithm. So if it's
Yeah,
art, I'm releasing it. But
for sure. For sure. And then you also just released earlier this summer released your is it your debut album? Is that accurate?
my acoustic uncut album,
Yeah.
yeah, I released that. That was more to showcase my diversity as a writer.
Mm.
I because I mean I'm not an expert guitar player. As I said, I picked the guitar up 4 years ago, but I wanted people to know what I can bring to the table and just like the difference in writing styles I use. And there were some songs, man, I wrote 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and I just wanted them to be heard,
Yeah.
honestly. So I was just like, go record a live acoustic session, gonna release it, and if nobody else likes it, at least I get to listen to it.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
I mean, like because I always enjoy acoustic stuff, but just because it's like you get to see the real artistry and the real musicianship. There's no gimmicks, there's no frills, it's just on the table. What it is what it is.
just raw.
Yeah.
And the reason I did that is because I play a lot of rounds out here,
Mhm.
and a lot of those songs I play at rounds, and then people will be like, can I hear them?" It's like only time you're gonna hear them is if you come to a round. And I realized that when it's just me and a guitar, I have a better connection with people,
Mm.
and that's what I wanted to bring to the table with that acoustic whole uncut album. Is I wanted everybody to be able to feel like they're sitting in front of me.
Yeah, for sure. I feel that. It's one of those things where it's like it just gives the most authentic representation of who you are as a musician, especially since you're playing a lot of rounds and all that stuff. It's like if you come to a show, this is what you're gonna hear. So let's get it out there. So
Yeah, a lot of my songs are a little bit heavier. And so
mhm.
you can't really get that emotion and that like just connection with people. It's just more of like, okay, I want to headbutt a wall because this goes so hard.
Right.
With acoustic, it's just like, okay, this guy has a story. I'm a storyteller when it just comes straight acoustic.
Mhm. Gotcha. So is the uncut album was your first big project, but all right, where are you kind of at right now? Obviously, this is out and doing really well, and it at least from my perspective, it seems like it's doing really well. Where are you kind of at right now? Are you trying to work on more singles, or are you trying to get another like fully produced album out, or a fully produced album out?
What's happening right now is I've noticed an increase in my numbers, and I'm trying to hit it while it's peaking. And the strategy I'm working with, like people who I'm working with on my campaign, other artists, what the information I'm getting, um, I'm going to be releasing a single
Mhm.
uh, first, and then I have so many songs I've been writing probably 3 months trying to figure out what next song I'm going to have. And my brother actually wrote me a song, and he let me co-write on it a little bit after I realized that I wanted it. He wrote me a song 2 years ago, and he's scrolling through his phone, and he came up for his bachelor party. He just wanted to hang out. It wasn't a
Mhm.
really bachelor party, uh, but we went to the studio I record at and recorded his whole entire song, vocals
Oh,
and
well.
everything. And he wants me to release it. So within like the next month and a half, I'm gonna have some new music out, and I'm excited
Nice.
for it. And then we're
Nice.
gonna just take it from there.
Cool. So you're just keeping the ball rolling, and all the momentum you picked up from Uncut, you're just gonna kind of roll it into the next one.
Pretty much. That's the only way I've learned how from being
Right.
out here. Definitely. I just, yeah. I've been writing so much, and I've been trying to pick a song that I want because all the songs that I've released, except for like maybe one or two, have been songs solo rights,
Mhm.
like the entire thing. And then I realized because I've always co-written, I just realized that maybe other people's emotions and their opinions and their lifestyles can relate to me, and the way I'm starting to go about it in a different style. It's exciting. So I have probably like 4 or 5 more songs I want to record and cut, and they're all going to be completely different for the most part. You're going to know I'm a writer on it, but
Yeah,
just the style and everything.
yeah, for sure. You said that the up next set of songs that will be coming out over the course of the rest of the year and into next year, and like I'll let you kind of promote those as those come out. But have you who have you been listening to? Like, do you listen to different styles of music or different types of music that you're getting these different kind of influences, or is this just kind of how you always been as a writer?
As a writer, I've always loved to jump genres.
Hmm.
I grew up, I said all my brothers played and they all did different genres. So I've had all those influences. Um, the next songs, I mean, they could be rock, they could be rap, they could be pop. And who I've been listening to, I love Shabuzi.
Hmm.
His song "Drink Don't Need No Mix." I play that at least 5 times a day. Or if I'm like get, the
Yeah,
energy, like I need an
yeah,
uplifting song. I'm in my truck driving through my garage. I live on the 4th floor. I play at least twice.
yeah.
I'm going down it. Zach Top, big time. I've been on Zach Top lately, but I still listen to like the people who inspired me to write songs in the first place: Chris Stapleton, Co Wetzel, Giovanni and the Hired Guns. I was in Texas for a year when I
Yeah,
discovered all those guys, and it
yeah,
just it the red dirt guys who just it's gritty and it's real.
yep,
That's what I like.
yep. Giovanni and the Hired Gun. So I'm based out of Waco, Texas,
Okay.
and Giovanni and the Hired Guns. They play around here all the time. Like, and whether it's a festival or whatever it is, at least 2 or 3 times a year, they're in the area. So yeah,
He's gonna be going
that
back on tour soon too with Co Wetzel, isn't he?
I think so. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I met my friends. I consider him a close friend now, Joey Green, who
Hmm.
plays in Texas a lot. He'll be in Fort Worth on the 7th. Hopefully, if I can get somebody to go down with me, I'm gonna drive down there. Uh,
Nice.
but it was crazy. I was talking to him about all these Texas artists, and he was like, "Yeah, I know every single one of them."
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's
It
awesome.
the Texas scene is really cool. Like there, and it's really interesting because it seems like 2 years ago, most of these artists they just kind of went around Texas and they made their living. But now with the eyes kind of on Texas, with everybody moving here and they're kind of discovering these artists and sending them like, hey, you got to listen to like who are insert 100 different names,
Yeah,
and now they're starting to get like famous outside of Texas, which is really cool to kind of see. You know, I,
yeah,
I
I love it.
yeah, I had reached out to somebody I had on the podcast a couple of different times. Um, like, man, I would love to, but I'm just so freaking busy right now. I don't have the time, and I'm like, I get it. I've seen your schedule, and I 100% get it. So, and
those
these are.
those Texas artists, man, they play. They play
Mhm.
4 or 5 times a week, full band,
Mhm.
like double. Like they play just as much as the guys on Broadway here do in Nashville. They just have their
Yeah.
own bands.
Well, and that's like just the geographical location of Texas, where it's like it doesn't take much. Like if they live somewhere around, like say somewhere in Central Texas here, within 3 hours, you could be in like four major cities, and it's just like you don't ever have to worry about overplaying your welcome because every night you're going to be in front of a completely different crowd.
But
So. Um, so speaking of like live shows and whatnot, how often are you playing? Are you playing pretty much down Broadway, or are you getting out and like touring and all that stuff?
a lot of friends on Broadway. I'll get up there and get on stage whenever I can. But
Mhm.
right now, I'm writing 4 or 5 times a week. I'm trying to get as much music I can and build a fan base on social media before I tour anywhere.
Nice.
Um, and being an independent artist, I'm doing everything. So right now, it's about the music right now, and when I can get to a place where I can go tour, I would love to.
Yeah.
But as of right now, it's just getting the best quality music I can out possible.
Hmm. For sure. I love that. Love that work ethic of just keep your head down and keep moving forward. Occasionally looking up to enjoy the view for a minute, but just for the most part, head down, focused on where you want to be. So.
Yeah, and I realized that it's definitely a marathon, not a sprint.
Mhm.
And tackling little things. This applies to life in general. Just tackling those little goals and tasks that you can will end up getting you to a bigger place, and you'll be able to handle it then. So I know my time will come. It's just going to be whenever I'm ready for it.
Hmm. Yeah. And I mean, social media has just kind of opened up the world. Like, I mean, that's how I found you was went through a black hole search on Instagram and I was just like, because I'm in the process of just like really focusing in on this podcast. I mean, even though we've been doing it for 8 years, it's like it's been here and there and like all this other stuff. And I was like, nope, I'm gonna focus in and like really do this year. And so I went on like a spiral through Instagram and started found you and a whole bunch of other people. And it's like social media, man. I don't know. It's interesting. So
I love it as an artist.
yeah,
It's a lot in a lot of aspects. Like it connects so many artists to each other. And even people I see out all the time, I'm like, okay, I have them on Instagram. If
yeah.
I go to a writer's round and I add everybody on that writer's round, and
Hmm.
then I'm adding more people that they post, share, and it makes the world a whole lot smaller.
Yep. Yep.
I do love TikTok, and I have a love hate relationship with TikTok.
Right. It, I try to commit to TikTok, but I just don't. It's not in the like circle of social medias that I do. So it's just kind of like when I think about it, it's like, oh yeah, I probably need to go post to TikTok really quick.
Yeah,
So you know,
that's how I try to make the it as authentic as possible. I deleted my old TikTok and
mhm.
made a new one because when I first got it, when TikTok first came out, I got a pretty big following doing
Yeah,
military stuff, just
yeah,
posting just dumb stuff that
mhm, yeah,
me and a bunch of my military buddies did. But then I took a break and the guidelines changed,
mhm,
a bunch of stuff got taken down. So I
yeah,
decided to make a new one solely based
yeah,
on music.
yeah. I deleted our original TikTok, but for a much more different reason. I said something stupid on there, and people started coming after me. So I was like, gonna get rid of this one for a while, and I stayed off for about a year. So
That happens.
yeah. Oh, so outside of music, what have you been getting into? Obviously, music's like the main focus, but what do you get into outside of music?
Rec league softball.
Nice.
Yeah, I played a little college baseball, and we had a team called the Free Agents. We decided not to change the team. A couple of my writer buddies were like, "We need a break," and I
Hmm.
was playing softball every Monday night. About to play flag football, and it's a little bit of what we do, and then fishing, whatever I can do,
Nice.
but still maintain that like drive.
Yeah. Yeah. I had this brilliant idea this year to do a fantasy football league for musicians, except I found out that it's like damn near impossible to get 10 musicians into the same place at once for an hour and a half to do a draft. So it's just like, we'll see what happens, but it's still out there. So
This is actually my first year doing fantasy football.
really,
Yeah, I
yeah.
played. I mean, I played for years, and I played a little bit of semi-pro, and I
Mm-hmm.
know football. And but that was another thing. Softball ended, and then my buddies wanted to start the fantasy football so we can like
Yeah.
hang out Thursday nights before we go to Live Oak or some writers round.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting the first pick, so I got Christian McCaffrey. So
Nice.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
You said you played semi-pro. Who'd you play for?
Back in 2021, I played for the Virginia Storm. We won a
Okay.
national title. I played outside linebacker, and
Oh,
that's when I
nice.
was in the gym like every day, just jacked and needed to take out some testosterone.
Fair.
Yeah,
Oh,
go ahead.
no, was this while you were still in the service or was this after you got out?
I was still in the service. So I'm from Camp Lejeune is only 3.5 hours away from my hometown.
Hmm.
And my two of the Marines I was friends with, I played football for their dad. And they're bodybuilders now. But
Hmm.
back then we would go home every weekend, like have bonfires, do all of our like normal country stuff to
Yeah.
decompress from being in the military all week. And he was like, "We need y'all to come play football." And I was like, "Okay, it's been a while. Last time I played football, I was a high school quarterback,
Yeah.
and but I won like a couple of awards in high school for playing linebacker my junior year. And then when his dad coached me, I played linebacker.
Yeah.
And he just brought me out, and then I realized that I hit a lot harder now because instead of 185 pounds, I was 215 of solid
Yeah.
muscle. You know, had to deal with military crap all week. So
Fair.
yeah, it
That's
was a good
fair.
outlet.
Nice. That's really cool. I I didn't really know that there was a semi-pro league until I started until I came down here to Texas and there was a couple of like smaller, not like the UFL type stuff, but just like Texas Football League or whatever it was called. And yeah, so
Yeah,
you know,
that's what ours was. It's like the AFF or something like that. And
yeah,
they have a couple leagues in Tennessee. Like I played in Bristol, uh, Jacksonville, North Carolina. I played in a couple of different leagues, but
yeah,
that first league it was just different. We were
gotcha.
undefeated. All the guys were huge. It was really fun.
Fair, fair, fair. So what's kind of the obviously getting this new music out is probably the main focus, but are you what's kind of the thought process as you approach the end of the year and all that fun stuff?
Approaching the end of the year, man. It's lately because I last year I grinded.
Hmm.
Um, and I was releasing stuff every month. I was in the studio all the time, spending money for promotion. Right now, it's more about just building those connections and those friendships with my community.
Hmm.
This past year, I've gone out more than I have the entire time I've been here. Um, I moved from Lebanon to downtown. I'm out every night. It's great that it feels like kind of like college in an aspect because you can go anywhere and you're going to see people that you know and
Yeah,
meet new people because the people know other people.
yeah,
Right now, I want to write on as many songs as I can possible and build those friendships, those connections that are going to last a lifetime. So that way, when I do get success, um, everybody can have success.
yeah,
But as
yeah,
far as coming into this next year, I'm grinding. I'm going to be really
right,
simple for
yeah,
it and doing as much as I can to
yeah.
just hone my craft and eventually be a freaking country rock star.
I
So,
got you.
the
I
goal.
mean that's what Nashville. I don't compare it to college. I say it's more like a family reunion.
Mhm.
But then again, the only time I really come into town for like for like straight 100% business is when like CRS is going on or CMA Fest, and then that's when everybody's in town already anyway. So
Yeah, then it really is a family reunion.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I met a lot of people during CMA Fest, and it was the first time I did went to CMA Fest without working because
Oh, really?
I'm a bouncer like 2 days a week
Hmm.
at the stage, and but yeah, like it's crazy down here during CMA Fest. I love it.
Right, right, right. So, have you seen anything? Being a bouncer on Broadway, I'm sure you've kind of seen all the craziness. Were you down there when like the Hawk Tuah thing started popping off?
I mean, I was working down there. I wasn't down there that night.
Okay.
Last year I worked during nights, and they asked me to come back because I was close with a lot of bouncers, and
Mm,
they had some guys quit. But I've been doing day shift.
okay.
It's like Mondays, Sundays, like just chill days that I can go there and stand
Yeah.
for 9 hours and not be bothered.
Yeah. Broadway's crazy. Like the first time I ever went down Broadway, it was like a Monday morning because we were doing a bunch of acoustic recording sessions with musicians. We had gotten a like a practice sound stage or something, and we had like 4 hours to kill. I was like, let's go to Broadway. Let's check it out. I'd never been, and we were driving down. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning. That place was cracking at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, I've never seen anything like this other than Vegas.
Yeah, it's weird the time frames and different types of seasons too.
Yep.
I've noticed like they had Robert's birthday celebration a
Hmm.
couple weeks ago, and it was a Monday morning, and I walked up and like the street was shut off and people were already out, and I was like, well, this is going to be a long day. But I mean, it's I love it. I love it.
Hmm. Yeah,
I'm surrounded by music 24/7, and it's
for sure.
exactly what I wanted when I got out the Navy. So I complain sometimes, but it's I love it.
Yeah, I gotcha. So if anybody wants to check out your music or any of that fun stuff, where's the best place to find you?
Best place to find me, Spotify. Everything I have is just my first and last name, Michael Pritchett. I realized that I probably should have just gone with the last name Pritchett because that's what I've been called my entire life. Um, I figured that would have been a cool stage name. But yeah, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, Apple, anything is Michael Pritchett.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, really appreciate your time. One thing before we wrap this up though, what's one piece of advice you have for the young musicians out there?
I saw that this is a Seth Rogen post actually, and it's always in the back of my head. He's like, if you quit, you'll never get there.
Mhm.
If you don't quit, there's a chance you can.
Nice. I love it. I've never had Seth Rogen quoted on the podcast before, but I guess there's a first time for everything, right?
Yes, sir.
So awesome. Well, Michael, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. For anybody listening on Spotify after the recording, we put Michael's Spotify link and all that fun stuff down in the description. So feel free to check them out. And once again, thank you all for joining in, and we will see you all later.